Alright, in this video, let's go ahead and take a look at a slightly more difficult division problem. One that we have to do a little bit of work on. And so let's take a look at a problem like this. 3 goes into 699. Okay, so now, in the previous video, I talked about just simple multiplication facts. That if you know your multiplication tables, then you can go ahead and do this. Well, most of us don't really know our multiplication tables above, say, 10 by 10 or 12 times 12. And so when you say 3 times what is 699, most of us go, I don't know. And you could try it. 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 3 times 3, but you'd have to really work at it for a while. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to work our way from left to right on the dividend. We're going to operate on the first number or the first couple 3 numbers. And that depends on our divisor and how big our divisor is. So, to do this, ask yourself, does 3 go into 6? In other words, can you divide 6 by 3 and get a bigger number than 1, or 1? So it has to be 1 or bigger. Well, 3 goes into 6 more than once. In fact, it goes in twice. And so we can go ahead and start there. So here's how we do this. 3 goes into 6 twice. And so I'm going to, since I asked that question, I put the answer up at the top. And now I perform multiplication. It's very important that you do this and learn how to do this on a simple problem. 3 goes into 6 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. And then we subtract. Now, if it divides evenly, 6 minus 6 is 0, and that's okay. Then bring down the next number. Ask yourself, does 3 go into that number? Okay, now that we had a 0, we can kind of ignore the 0. But does 3 go into 9? If you had a 1, 3 would not go into 1. You'd have to bring the second number down. But in this case, you can actually work with the second number. And so you say 3 goes into 9 3 times. And then you repeat. 3 times 3 is 9. And you subtract always. 9 minus 9 is 0. Now, go to the next number on your dividend. Bring it all the way down. And repeat. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. We subtract. 9 minus 9 is 0. At this point, we've run out of numbers. Okay, and so if we have anything other than 0 left down here, that would be called a remainder. Our next problem will deal with that. But since we have a 0, we have a remainder of 0, which means there's no pieces left over when we did our successive subtraction. We just had 233 groups. This is our answer right here. So you just continue until you brought down all of your numbers, and then whatever's left is a remainder. So 233 is our answer. Now see, that wasn't so bad. So now let's do another one where we do get a remainder. So now let's do a problem like 5 goes into 277. Okay, so now our problem is what number can we multiply 5 by to get 277? Well, since, and we'll talk about divisibility later, but since 277 does not end in a 5 or 0, it won't divide evenly. We're going to have a remainder. And I planned it that way. Oh, I got to get rid of some stuff on the screen there. Alright, so now we ask ourselves, does 5 go into 2? And so I'm looking at that first digit, and it does not. And so now instead of using that first digit, I'm going to use the first 2 digits, and I say, does 5 go into 27? Well, yes, it does. 5 goes into 27 5 times. Notice I put the 5 over my answer of 5 over the 7 and 27. It's to line up. It's to tell me that, okay, when I'm dividing this out, my answer is going to go down from the hundreds to the tens. So I'm going to get 50-something, not 500. So that just kind of guides me. So since 5 goes into 25 or 27 5 times, it can't go in 6 because that's 30. And so 5 times 5 is 25. Now when we subtract, we're going to have 2 left over. Now that was different than here. We had 0. But that's okay. We're going to follow the exact same process. At this point, we've done our 5 just as we did 2 times 3 is 6 and subtracted. We did 5 times 5 is 25 and subtracted. Our answer over on the left side was 0. Our answer here is 2. Now, just as we did, we brought down the 9. We bring down the 7. And so we have 5 goes into 27 how many times? Okay, well, it goes in there 5 times. Yep. All right, so 5 times 5 is 25. We subtract, and we get another 2. But at this point, we've run out of numbers. We have no more numbers in the dividend. So we're going to stop. This number here is the remainder. And so what happened was, as we were taking groups of 5 out from 277, we got down to the end. After 55 groups, we had 2 left. Well, we can't make a group of 5. And so this is usually expressed one of 2 ways. I'm only going to show you the first way now because we haven't talked about fractions. Okay, this is expressed as R for remainder, capital R, and a 2. And so what we're saying is, if you divide 277 by 5, you will get 55, but you'll have this remainder of 2 left over. To check your work, normally you'd go back and you'd multiply your answer by the divisor, your quotient by the divisor. When you do that in this particular problem, and I'm going to do it out here, what you're going to do is you're going to actually put 5 times 55 plus 2. You're going to add in your remainder. And so this will be 275. Just trust me on that. You can use your calculator to double check me, of course, or do it out by hand. So 275 plus 2 is 277, and that was what we had underneath, and so we're correct. That's how you divide. Everything else is just a tad more complicated than that. I'll do a couple more examples in the next video.